Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Gerry Turner's secret Golden Bachelor romance twist just hit his ex like a plot bomb. Golden Bachelor Season 1 winner threesomist is spilling the tea, sharing a surprise revelation about a secret romance that followed her whirlwind marriage and divorce from Gerry Turner, a plot twist fans probably never saw coming. With exes, secrets, and a front-row look at the drama behind the cameras, Theresa learned a shocking revelation, proving that even reality TV love stories have twisty shakeups once the cameras stop rolling. Theresa revealed to former castmates Kathy Swartz and Susan Knowles on their Bachelor Happy Hour, Golden Hour podcast that Gerry had a brief and somewhat surprising romance with another member of Bachelor Nation. It's no secret Gerry has been dating Lana Sutton, and the couple made long-term plans together. But before that relationship began, he dated fellow cast member Christina Kempton, a retired purchasing manager from Sierra Madre, K, who was sent home in week 3 of Gerry's season. "I'm actually the one who suggested he go out with Christina," Theresa shared in the interview. But Kathy revealed that the relationship lasted 6 months. A detail that seemed to surprise Theresa. Theresa, Susan, and Kathy also discussed the controversial lead of the Golden Bachelor Season 2, Mel Owens. In June, he appeared on a podcast and declared that he would cut any woman on his season over the age of 60, despite the fact that people over 60 looking for love is quite literally the entire premise of the show he signed up to be on. He, by the way, is 66 years old. The ladies were, of course, extremely put off by Mel's prejudicial comments, with Theresa declaring on the podcast he was prejudging women over the age of 60 and just discounting every one of them as though they would not be a viable partner for him. He can't go on this show and continue without acknowledging what he did. Theresa encouraged the women in his cast to be tough on him, to hold him accountable, and to remember that they're not just there to be chosen, they get to choose too. Gerry is currently working on his memoir, which is set to hit shelves later this year. When asked about the book, Theresa revealed, "I'm anxious to see what he's going to say." She told Kathy and Susan that she's asked her ex-husband about it, and he's like, "Oh, I'm under contract. I can't say anything." So Theresa will find out what's in those pages when everyone else does. Surely, Gerry will have things to say about their divorce in his upcoming memoir. They'd previously cited distance as a central reason for their split, but Gerry has publicly speculated that his cancer diagnosis played a role as well. Theresa was shocked to hear this and responded, "I would have never left my husband over an illness." She has, however, hinted previously that there were other yet undisclosed reasons behind their breakup, and recently, she says, she's started writing about the experience. No publishing plans just yet. For now, she's writing for herself. When ABC announced The Golden Bachelor, the world thought it would be a simple, heartwarming story. A charming 72-year-old widower searching for love in his golden years. Gerry Turner was marketed as the epitome of second chances, a man who had loved once, lost tragically, and was ready to step into the sunset with a new partner. But if reality television has taught us anything, it's this: there are no such things as simple love stories. This week, the carefully curated narrative around Gerry cracked like a champagne glass dropped on marble. His secret romance twist, long buried behind the polished promos and rosy interviews, surfaced, and it landed like a plot bomb on the people who thought they knew him best, especially his ex. And suddenly, the Golden Bachelor turned from fairy tale to thriller. The man America fell for. Gerry entered the reality TV universe wearing the armor of a modern-day knight. Soft-spoken, gentle, perpetually smiling, he seemed like the grandfather everyone wished they had. His emotional backstory, losing his beloved wife, Tony, after decades of marriage, gave him instant credibility as the man who deserved happiness. ABC producers leaned hard into that narrative, Shots of him walking along lake shores, staving against golden hour sunsets, and holding photos of his late wife made viewers cry before the season even aired. Gerry wasn't just a bachelor. He was the embodiment of hope that love could bloom at any stage of life. But reality doesn't always fit neatly into an edit. The secret no one expected. Behind the curtains of televised romance was a truth that even his contestants didn't know. Before he signed on to The Golden Bachelor, Gerry had already been involved in a romance that blurred the lines between heartbreak and betrayal. Reports began to swirl when an ex-girlfriend stepped forward. She wasn't just a casual fling, nor was she a ghost from the distant past. She was someone Gerry had shared years of his life with, someone he lived with, loved with, and promised a future to. Her revelation? Gerry hadn't exactly been the grieving widower wandering alone through life. He'd already had a golden romance that ended in heartbreak, and not in the way the public expected. The ex speaks out. The ex, who asked initially for privacy but later gave interviews under her first name, described a Gerry very different from the silver-haired saint we saw on screen. She told stories of late-night arguments, the kind of compromises couples make when real life creeps in, and even the pain of being abruptly cut off when Gerry decided she didn't fit the next chapter of his carefully constructed life. She didn't describe him as cruel. She described him as calculated. And that's what hit hardest, because if Gerry had been carefully shaping his public image long before the cameras rolled, then every rose ceremony, every teary-eyed speech, every declaration of love might not have been as spontaneous as it seemed. For her, watching him profess vulnerability on national television felt like reopening a wound that had only just scared. A plot bomb that changes everything. When the ex's story broke, it wasn't just a ripple, it was an explosion. Fans of the show, who had come to believe in Gerry as the ultimate good guy, suddenly faced the uncomfortable possibility that The Golden Bachelor had been golden mostly because of lighting and editing. The twist didn't just shatter an image, it reframed the entire season. Every moment where Gerry appeared hesitant, every time he mentioned being ready for love, every emotional breakdown under the gazebo suddenly looked less like genuine vulnerability and more like stagecraft. And in that moment, the show became something bigger than a love story. It became a case study in how reality television, and perhaps reality itself, can twist, bend, and reframe truths until they're nearly unrecognizable. The contestants react. For the women on the show, who had put their hearts on the line, the revelation felt like a betrayal. Many had uprooted their lives, stepped into the spotlight, and bared their deepest insecurities because they believed they were competing for the heart of a man who was as pure and open as he appeared. Imagine the shock, finding out that the man who cried about loneliness had been living with someone else not that long ago. That his narrative of waiting decades to love again had a footnote he never bothered to mention. For some contestants, it was anger. For others, it was confusion. But for nearly all, it raised the question, were they falling for Gerry the man or Gerry the character? ABC's Golden Gamble. Behind the scenes, the producers must have felt both dread and exhilaration. On one hand, the twist threatened the integrity of the show. On the other, it fueled exactly what reality TV thrives on, drama. Suddenly, the season wasn't just about who Gerry would choose. It was about whether Gerry deserved to choose anyone at all. Would America forgive him? Would his contestants? Or would the final be remembered not for the proposal, but for the implosion? ABC had promised viewers the most romantic season in Bachelor history. What they got instead was Shakespearean tragedy dressed up in primetime gloss. Gerry's silence and his breaking point. When confronted about the secret romance, Gerry initially dodged. He spoke about chapters of life, about how people change, about how the past should stay in the past. But the more questions came, the less his silence worked. Finally, he broke. In a teary confessional that some claim was filmed after the controversy reached its peak, Gerry admitted that yes, he had been in a long-term relationship. Yes, he had lived with someone, and yes, it had ended badly. But he insisted that didn't mean his search for love was fake. It meant he was human. The problem? Humanity was never what audiences were sold. They were sold perfection. The ex's heartbreak, rewritten on national TV. For Gerry's ex, the hardest part wasn't the breakup itself. It was watching the man who had left her for reasons that felt abrupt and cruel suddenly reframe himself as a saint of second chances. Her heartbreak wasn't just personal, it was now public, broadcast in the shadows of every episode. And when the twist hit headlines, it felt like her truth had finally clawed its way into the light. Like a plot bomb, unexpected, devastating, and impossible to ignore. The golden lesson. In the end, Gerry Turner's secret romance twist doesn't erase his charm, nor does it negate the love he might find. But it does teach a lesson about television, about narratives, and about how easily audiences can be seduced by the idea of a perfect story. Real love is messy. Real love doesn't always fit into golden hour lighting. And sometimes, the man presented as the symbol of eternal devotion is just a man who made mistakes, broke hearts, and tried to reinvent himself. For his ex, that truth hit hard. For viewers, it was a reminder. Reality TV may sell us fairy tales, but behind every rose, there's always a thorn. And for Gerry Turner, the Golden Bachelor who became a little less golden, the story isn't over. It's just more complicated than anyone expected.